Let's bring in former federal prosecutor and former FBI consultant Joe Moreno. Joe, we just heard that the federal judge down in Florida, is showing an inclination to appoint a a special master. Is that a victory for the Trump team? They've asked for that.
Hey, John, good to be with you. It would be a victory, but probably a small one, because you have to wonder why the Trump team waited nearly 2 weeks after the search to actually make this request. It's a good likelihood that the investigators who seized these documents have already looked at them. So I would have to say, yes, having an independent individual appointed by the courts would be a good thing. It would reduce the chance of basically mischief, of allowing investigators and prosecutors to look at attorney-client privilege materials. But at the same time, it might be too little too late.
Well, but if they're looking at them, does that mean they're going to leak them, that they're going to spill the contents of attorney-client privilege documents?
I mean, John, look, I worked at the Justice Department. I love the institution. And if it has any chance of restoring the trust of the American people, it is not to spill. It is not to leak. There is nothing more deleterious to the administration of justice than the feeling that it is not being done professionally. And we've seen this happen before. So, look, I think there's two good ways to go here for the DOJ. One, if they have a righteous case against Donald Trump or anyone, move forward. If they don't, be transparent and tell us about it. But the worst thing they could do is to not say anything, leave this out there. And in the information vacuum, we're going to have speculation, we're going to have leaks, and that is not a good thing.
It just seems like somebody should have had, solid evidence of terrible dealings by the former president if they were going to take the unprecedented step of raiding his home and seizing documents. That's never been done before. And it doesn't seem, from what we're hearing so far, well, we don't know what's in the documents, but it seems like maybe the FBI didn't know either.
John, you're absolutely right. It's one thing to get probable cause to recover documents. It's another thing to bring a criminal prosecution beyond a reasonable doubt, especially against a former president, which is why I'm convinced this was about document recovery. The classified angle was needed in order to invoke the Presidential Records Act, which is not a criminal statute. But at the end of the day, they've got their documents back, and I don't believe the DOJ has any inclination to prosecute Donald Trump or anyone on this matter. And the best thing they could do to reduce speculation and rumor is to be upfront about it.
But wasn't his team already in negotiation to give the documents back?
That's what former President Trump said. He hasn't done himself a lot of favors in the past couple of weeks because his story about saying that he was giving these documents back is now under dispute by the DOJ. Probably would have been a lot cleaner to give these documents back fully, fight about it in the background, and have anything else in the headlines other than this right now. So if Donald Trump keeps wanting to say that, he better hope that he actually has the facts to back that up.
Yeah, if you charge a former president with a crime and convict him, he can't run for office again, right?
Unclear. So the Constitution lays out the criteria for running for president, and it does not say anything about being a convicted felon. There is a clause about impeachment and conviction, but then again, Donald Trump has already been impeached twice, but not convicted. So therefore, there's no official bar to running for office, even, believe it or not, for someone who might be charged or even convicted of a crime. So that further throws this whole dynamic into question.
It is said that his legal team might be considering a Fourth Amendment grounds for rejecting, the premise of this whole raid. What do you think about that prospect?
Look, you could try that. The idea, of course, is that normally when these affidavits that we're so interested in come out is at the time a person is charged, and that's the time for a person to challenge the probable cause determination that authorized the search in the first place. Again, I'm not sure the former president is getting the best advice. Of course, he should challenge this. I think he's getting ahead of himself. Obviously, let's see what the DOJ does. And I think the best thing Donald Trump could do is stop tweeting, stop talking about this, and let this kind of die on the vine, as I believe it will.
But you think that this is all about the National Archives wanting its documents back and, the DOJ throwing in classified to sort of amp up the urgency here?
I mean, John, they need a criminal predicate in order to get a search warrant. And the Presidential Records Act, which is the act that governs who owns presidential property, does not have a criminal provision. So I think the DOJ was clever, and I have no doubt that they cleared the hurdle for probable cause. But then again, that's very different than bringing a criminal case, which will hinge on declassification authority, which no doubt a president has. And that, I think, is a much more difficult road to travel. And that's why I do not think that's the hill that the DOJ really wants to fight and die on.
Yeah, because a lot of experts have said that any president has the ultimate declassification authority. And for some, acting national archivist to say things were not declassified or were not, were not declassified is simply wrong.
It would be a very difficult case. I mean, I'm predicting that right now. The president will say, I did declassify it, or I thought they were declassified, or my lawyers told me they were declassified. In order to break through that and show criminal intent will be very difficult, not to mention the political ramifications of a case like that. So again, if you're going to bring a case against a former president, you want it to be a darn lockdown case. From what we've seen, even the heavily redacted affidavit, this is not it.
Yeah. There's not a lot you can glean from that affidavit. Joe Moreno, Joe, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Always a pleasure.
Well, more large groups of migrants are coming across our southern